My boyfriend cheated on me with his girl best friend. And this is how I got revenge. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. The glow of Liam's laptop illuminated the dark room, casting shadows that seemed to mock me. The messages were right there, undeniable and cruel. Sophie's name flashed repeatedly, followed by words that made my stomach churn. I miss you. Last night was amazing. When can I see you again? My hands trembled as I scrolled, each message a knife twisting deeper into my chest. How long had this been going on? How could I have been so blind? I thought back to all the times Liam had brushed off my concerns about his closeness to Sophie. She's just my best friend, Eve. You're being paranoid. I'd believed him. I'd trusted him. And now, here I was, staring at the proof of his betrayal. The sound of the front door opening snapped me out of my daze. Liam was home. I slammed the laptop shut, my mind racing. What was I supposed to do? Confront him? Scream? Cry? I felt frozen, caught between rage and heartbreak. Eve, you still up? Liam's voice called from the hallway. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat felt like it was closing up, and my chest ached with the weight of what I'd just discovered. He walked into the room, his smile fading as he saw my face. What's wrong? He asked, his tone cautious. I stood up, clutching the laptop like a weapon. What's wrong? I repeated, my voice shaking. What's wrong is that I just read your messages with Sophie, or should I say, your love letters. Liam's face went pale. Eve, it's not what you think. Don't, I snapped, cutting him off. Don't insult me by lying. I saw everything. Liam, how long has this been going on? How long have you been making a fool out of me? He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. His silence was all the confirmation I needed. I threw the laptop onto the couch and stormed past him, grabbing my coat and bag on the way out. Eve, wait, he called after me, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. I needed to get out of there before I completely fell apart. I ended up at Maya's apartment, my tears flowing freely as I recounted the whole sordid story. She listened without judgment, her anger on my behalf palpable. When I finally finished, she looked at me with a determined expression. You're not going to let them get away with this, are you? She asked. I wiped my tears, a spark of defiance igniting in my chest. No, I said firmly. I'm not. Revenge, I quickly learned, was a dish best served cold. Over the next few days, I channeled my pain into planning. I wasn't going to just sit back and let Liam and Sophie walk away unscathed. They'd humiliated me, and I was going to return the favor. My first move was subtle but effective. I started reaching out to mutual friends, casually dropping hints about Liam's infidelity. I didn't outright accuse him, that would come later, but I made sure to plant seeds of doubt. Have you noticed how close Liam and Sophie have been lately? I'd ask, my tone innocent, but my words loaded. Next, I turned my attention to Ryan, Liam's older brother. Ryan had always been kind to me, and I knew he had a soft spot for me. I reached out under the guise of seeking closure, but my real goal was to make Liam jealous. Ryan and I met for coffee, and I made sure to post a photo of us together on social media. The caption was innocent enough, great catching up with an old friend, but I knew Liam would see it. Sure enough, Liam texted me later that day. Since when are you and Ryan hanging out? He asked, his tone accusatory. I responded with a simple, we're just friends, Liam, like you and Sophie. The silence on his end was satisfying. Meanwhile, I began gathering information about Sophie. Through Clara, a gossipy coworker, I learned that Sophie had been lying about her job title to impress people, but I knew Liam would see it. Sure enough, Liam texted me later that day. Since when are you and Ryan hanging out? He asked, his tone accusatory. I responded with a simple, we're just friends, Liam, like you and Sophie. The silence on his end was satisfying. Meanwhile, I began gathering information about Sophie. Through Clara, a gossipy coworker, I learned that Sophie had been lying about her job title to impress people. She'd been claiming to be a senior project manager when, in reality, she was just an assistant. I filed that information away, knowing it would come in handy later. By the end of the week, I felt a small sense of satisfaction. The wheels were in motion, and Liam and Sophie had no idea what was coming. But as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the lingering pain. Revenge was sweet, but it didn't erase the betrayal. Not yet. Anyway, Sophie's downfall began with a fake social media profile. I created an account under the name Emily Carter, posing as a potential client interested in Sophie's freelance work. I reached out to her with a proposal for a high-profile project, complete with a generous budget. Sophie, eager to impress, jumped at the opportunity. Over the next few weeks, I strung her along with promises of a lucrative contract. We exchanged emails and even had a few video calls, during which I wore a wig and glasses to disguise myself. Sophie was none the wiser. She poured hours into preparing a presentation, convinced that this project would be her big break. The day before the supposed contract signing, I ghosted her. I deleted the fake profile and blocked her number. The look on her face during our last video call, hopeful, eager, desperate, was burned into my memory. It was a small victory, but it felt good. Meanwhile, my flirtation with Ryan continued to escalate. We met for drinks a few times, and I made sure to post about each outing on social media. Liam's jealousy was palpable. He started showing up at places he knew I'd be, trying to catch me alone. But I was always one step ahead. At a family barbecue hosted by Liam's parents, I made my move. I arrived with Ryan, my arm linked through his, and made a point of introducing him to everyone as my dear friend. Liam's discomfort was obvious, and I reveled in it. When he finally cornered me in the kitchen, his tone was sharp. "What are you playing at, Evie?" he demanded. I smiled sweetly. "I'm not playing at anything, Liam. I'm just living my life. You should try it sometime." The look on his face was priceless. By the end of the day, I felt a surge of satisfaction. The web was tightening, and Liam and Sophie were starting to feel the pressure. But I wasn't done yet, not even close. As much as I enjoyed plotting my revenge, I knew I couldn't let it consume me. I needed to rebuild my life, to find something beyond the pain and anger that had been driving me. So, I threw myself into my work. I landed a major client at my design firm, a project that challenged me in the best way possible. I spent long hours at the office, pouring my energy into creating something beautiful. The sense of accomplishment was intoxicating, and for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. It was during this time that Ethan re-entered my life. We dated briefly in college, but things had ended amicably when he moved away for a job. Now, he was back in town, and our paths crossed at a mutual friend's party. Ethan was everything Liam wasn't: kind, attentive, and genuinely supportive. The chemistry between us was undeniable, and we quickly fell into a rhythm of late-night conversations and spontaneous outings. He listened to me without judgment, offering comfort and encouragement when I needed it most. But as much as I enjoyed his company, I couldn't shake the guilt I felt. Was it fair to start something new when I was still so consumed by my desire for revenge? Maya, as always, had the perfect advice. "You're allowed to be happy, Eve," she said. "Liam doesn't get to dictate your life anymore. If Ethan makes you happy, then go for it." Her words stayed with me as I continued to navigate my complicated emotions. I wasn't ready to let go of my revenge plan, not yet, but I was starting to see that there was more to life than Liam and Sophie. And maybe, just maybe, I deserved to be happy. The invitation to Liam's 30th birthday party arrived in the mail, and I knew it was the perfect opportunity to strike. The party was going to be a lavish affair, hosted by Liam's parents at their sprawling estate. Everyone who was anyone would be there, including Sophie. Maya and I spent hours planning every detail of the confrontation. We gathered evidence of Liam and Sophie's affair, rehearsed what I would say, and made sure key guests would be present. I wanted to humiliate them in front of everyone they cared about, to make them feel the same pain they'd caused me. In the days leading up to the party, I focused on Sophie. Using the information I'd gathered from Clara, I anonymously leaked details about Sophie's professional lies to her boss. The fallout was immediate. Sophie was reprimanded at work, and her reputation took a hit. It was a small victory, but it fueled my determination. Liam, meanwhile, was growing increasingly paranoid. Rumors about his affair with Sophie were spreading, and he could feel the walls closing in. He tried to confront me, but I remained cool and composed, refusing to give him the satisfaction of a reaction. The night before the party, I stood in front of the mirror, rehearsing my lines one last time. I was ready. Liam and Sophie had no idea what was coming. The party was in full swing when I arrived, Ryan by my side. I'd chosen my outfit carefully, a sleek black dress that hugged my curves and made me feel powerful. Heads turned as we walked in, and I could feel the weight of everyone's stares. Liam's eyes widened when he saw me, and Sophie's face paled. I smiled sweetly, making my way through the crowd with Ryan in tow. The tension in the room was palpable, and I could feel the anticipation building. I waited for the perfect moment to strike. When Liam's parents approached me, I casually dropped a few hints about his affair. Their expression shifted from confusion to shock, and I knew the seeds had been planted. Finally, I made my way to the center of the room where Liam and Sophie were standing. The crowd fell silent as I began to speak, my voice steady but laced with venom. "I'm sure you're all wondering why I'm here," I said. My eyes locked on Liam. "Well, I thought it was only fair to let everyone know the truth about Liam and Sophie. You see, while Liam and I were together, he was also seeing Sophie." His best friend. Gasps filled the room, and Liam's face turned red. "Eve, stop," he began, but I cut him off. "No, Liam, you don't get to talk. You made your choices, and now it's time to face the consequences." Sophie looked away, unable to meet my gaze, and the room erupted in whispers. It was a moment of triumph, but as I walked away, I couldn't shake the lingering pain. Revenge was sweet, but it didn't heal the wounds they'd inflicted. The fallout from the party was immediate. Liam's reputation was in tatters, and his relationship with his family was strained. Sophie, meanwhile, lost friends and professional connections as the truth about her lies and affair came to light. I should have felt victorious, but instead, I felt empty. Revenge hadn't healed the pain of Liam's betrayal. If anything, it had left me feeling more lost than ever. Ethan was there for me, as always. He listened as I poured out my feelings, offering comfort and support without judgment. "You're allowed to feel conflicted," he said. "What they did to you was awful, but holding onto that anger isn't healthy. You deserve to be happy, Evie." His words stayed with me as I began to pick up the pieces of my life. I wasn't sure what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. I was done letting Liam and Sophie dictate my life. Letting go was harder than I expected. The anger and pain had become a part of me, and without them, I felt adrift. But with Ethan's support, I began to find my footing again. Maya reminded me that revenge was never about Liam and Sophie, it was about reclaiming my power. "You're stronger than you think, Eve," she said. "You don't need them to define you." Her words resonated with me, and I began to focus on the future rather than the past. I reconnected with my passions, throwing myself into my work and spending time with the people who truly cared about me. Ethan and I grew closer, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Maybe, just maybe, I could find happiness again. The gallery opening for my latest design project was a success. The room was filled with friends, family, and colleagues, all there to celebrate my work. As I stood in the center of the room, Surrounded by love and support, I felt a sense of peace. Ethan slipped his hand into mine, his smile warm and reassuring. "I'm proud of you," he said. I smiled back, feeling a surge of gratitude. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again, strong, confident, and ready to take on the world. As I glanced across the room, I caught a glimpse of Liam and Sophie in the distance. They looked small, insignificant, and for the first time, I felt nothing but indifference. "I used to think revenge would set me free," I said to Ethan, "but the truth is, I was the one holding the key all along." He squeezed my hand, and I knew that, no matter what the future held, I was going to be okay. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. Here are more videos you might like.